Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at patreon.com/inspired disorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of Swipe Up, the 145th episode of the show where I talk about posts that I've seen on Instagram and I give you my opinions on them and my thoughts on them, and let's get into it. There's a lot of craziness that's happened this past week. Starting off with, of course, everybody knows. A lot of these everybody knows because they have been very popular events that have happened globally. This one happening in Surfside, Florida, the condo that collapsed, the half of the condo that collapsed. Tons of people are still missing. Many have been recovered dead, but just a huge tragedy out in Florida. Which it's crazy that, like, I understand. It's like it just fell. At no point have I seen anybody try to explain why it fell, what made it fall. You know, I think what my thought is on why it fell, especially the fact that it's in Florida, a state that's very red, and one of the tendencies for conservative states is to they really love to open the door up for giant corporations or anybody with money to really just profit off of negligence and just horrible business practices, right? It's very much a political party that allows corporations and people to profit off of ridiculousness, and for people to bear the brunt of all of the mistakes and shortcuts and things. I think it was a fact that there's probably, especially since a lot of Florida, there's a lot of cocaine drug money in Florida, but just Florida in general, I would imagine substandard building codes or people being paid off. You know, whoever owned that building, whoever built that building, probably built it to substandard, whether there were regulations or not, or they paid off to get around regulations. Either way, buildings shouldn't just fall down, right? Unless it's like Building 7 and 9/11, where that's just more of a sympathy fall. But no explosion. It wasn't during a big storm. No hurricanes. Thing just fell. As far as maybe they just don't talk about it, but they did mention it's like, hey, this happened because of this thing. I think it's because of somebody with money, whoever built the building, built it to a horrible standard. They cut a ton of corners, probably used horrible materials. There's probably a lot of ways in which the person that built this building cut corners, and got away with it. So that's like something like that happening should 100% be blamed on the person that built it, but also the government of that state, because it's their job to make sure things get built to a certain standard. And it clearly wasn't done. Because it's like, it's not like great weather conditions out there. It's got to hold up to some stuff, So it's a tragedy that probably was caused by a wealthy person making a ton of money. And no consequences will ever come to whoever profited off of making a building that just falls down like that. So that's aside from all of the death that it caused, it's a tragedy that the system allows for wealthy people and giant corporations to just completely get away with murder. As far as I'm concerned, whoever built that building knew what they were doing, and blood is on their hands. Blood is on the hands of the government that did nothing, that allowed a building like that to be built. So I feel sorry for those people and for the families that have lost people, but that's it's sad, but it's that's kind of the story of this country. the majority of humans that work and build this country are generally shit upon and torn apart, chewed up and spit out. But if you have money, you can get away with stuff. You can actually make a lot of money. It's easy. It's almost effortless to make money when you have a lot of money, because you're able to get away with thing. You can break laws in ways that no ordinary human would ever be able to do, and not even pay taxes on it. But let's move on, shall we? Let's move on to somebody else who's got a lot of money, who was able to hire really good lawyers and get himself off of rape charges due to a technicality. Of course, everybody knows the comedian Bill Cosby. It has been released. Conviction was overturned due to a technicality in something that the prosecutor didn't do right. I read what it was, but I forget at this point. But yeah, Bill Cosby, somebody who was widely known for doing what he had done far before he got caught. Like, it was widely known in the comedy world that Bill Cosby drugged and raped women. You know, the fact that Hannibal Buress outed him on stage and it happened to be recorded and went viral, that kind of started the snowball to where Bill Cosby would actually be held accountable for his crimes. And it seemed to have been an effective snowball effect. But, you know, when you have money and good enough lawyers, it's amazing what you can get away with, you know? It's disgusting what you can get away with. When you have a lot of money and you can afford good lawyers, you know, versus the majority of this country who can't afford good lawyers, who are being monetized and enslaved into private prisons. Like, all of these people, like the majority of business owners and these wealthy people that get away with literally doing whatever they want to do just because they have money. It's disgusting. It's like so many things would have to change. Like the reality of how ridiculous these systems are and how reversed they are is so disgusting. It's really contributing to a lot of depression that I have. But anyway, fuck Bill Cosby. He talks about going back on stage, which, you know, it's a sad. I love stand-up comedy, but there's definitely a lot of stand-up comics that are, you know, probably should be in prison, you know, or at least, you know, it's just like it's an art form where it's kind of easy to make stupid people laugh, you know, like racism is, you know, reference Tony Hinchcliffe. It's easy to make racists laugh if you just say racist shit on stage. It's like they call that stuff hack because it's very easy and been done to death. So it's very easy for a lot of comics to latch on to those easy laughs. And, you know, there's audience out there. Bill Cosby will have an audience, you know. It just, you know, like, if you go to a Bill Cosby show for whatever, let's say you get free tickets and you're in Vegas and you're just like, well, I'll go and see. You have to know that the majority of the people that desired to go to that show don't care that he's raped a bunch of women, you know? Like, it's not like he was proven wrong. You know, it was a technicality. He had to be left. It's not like he was found innocent. It was a clerical error on somebody's part. Like, somebody didn't do their job right in the government, which isn't that surprising because most of them don't know how to do their job right. They're so used to not doing it correctly that the ability to do it correctly is probably pretty easy to uncover if you have enough money to hire good lawyers. But let's move on. Let's move off of Bill Cosby as Bill Cosby eventually moved off of his victims when he was done. Let's move on to just another insanity that happened this week. The portal to hell was opened up in the Gulf of Mexico. I think it's an Exxon. Is it Exxon? I don't know. One of the just another example of giant corporations really just doing whatever they want. And nothing will happen to them. Nothing will happen. Nothing will happen to this oil company who opened up a portal to hell in the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, aside from the fire that's burning on top of water, and then kind of the sad stupidity of boats shooting water on top of that water to try and stop the fire. It's just mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing that that's a reality. Yeah. Although it shouldn't be surprising. Like, after the past 2 years, 5 years, I mean, ever since Trump got elected, it really felt like the beginnings of the end. Once the reality became closer to Idiocracy, the film Idiocracy, the closer that we're getting to that reality, the more absurd, the less I'm surprised by this, but at the same time, almost amazed because it looks fake. It looks like an effect that a movie would have, but it's real. And it's sad that it's real. And it's not the first time the Gulf of Mexico has been damaged by oil spills. It's just disgusting what these companies are doing and what they continue to get away with because, they own so many Republicans and then a bunch of Democrats. They just own the majority of the government with lobbyists. We need to get money out of government, people. Which will never happen. Will never happen because people love money more than human life. As experienced during a global pandemic, where they cared more about somebody's business not being able to survive versus somebody's family members being able to survive. It's a very strange time to be really, really present and notice how much people value money over human life. It is disgusting. But let's move on to just more disgusting. This is just the disgusting episode of disgusting things that are happening to good people. And this one is the story of Richardson. What's her name? Carrie Richardson, runner for the Olympics, right? It's supposed to be amazing. I haven't looked into. I remember seeing a video like a week ago, like slow motion of her finishing a race, pointing at, I believe, the time stamp where she confident, like way before she even finished the race, like somebody who's so good it's effortless. Apparently, she's not able to compete because she was suspended for having THC in her system, which THC lasts a long time in your system. So it's one of them. Out of all of the drugs that you could take, quote unquote, all the substances you can take, weed is a thing that lasts the longest in your system, as far as I know from my zero research, but a lot of podcast listening to drug users. That marijuana, the cannabinoids, or something, there's receptors, there's things where for a solid month after you smoke, you can test positive, which is on itself ridiculous. The fact that anybody considers that a performance enhancing drug, it definitely helps athletes as far as recovery. CBD is widely used in athletics for reducing pain and inflammation. Instead of getting athletes addicted to opioids and actually harmful addictive drugs that are killing people by the millions in the world, I'm sure, versus weed that's never killed a human being in the history of mankind, is used as a race. It was born The illegality of weed was born out of racism. They needed a reason to lock up black and brown people in the country. And William Randolph Hearst was worried that hemp would take over the paper industry, which he owned or had a big stake in, had many paper mills and ran many newspapers. So he started the propaganda of marijuana. They invented the name of marijuana, and they put out propaganda articles and films and posters. Reefer Madness, where it's like you go crazy, jump out windows, and rape women. That's what weed does, and it's just used to control populations, and that's why certain places like China still views weed as an extremely dangerous drug that you should not take part in at all. But the reality is that it's one of the safest things you could put into your body. And some people think it actually helps your body, benefits. I mean, the CBD helps inflammation reduction, helps prevent a lot of illnesses and a lot of injuries. And, CBD has been known to reduce inflammation. And then on top of that, like the fact that weed lasts a long time in your system, the fact that it's not dangerous and has never killed a human being in the history of mankind, it's not a performance enhancing. It's not going to help her run better, may help her recover a little bit more, but it's not like steroids where it's like going to help her work out 10 times what she normally would, and recover exponentially faster. Just reduces inflammation, makes it a little less painful when your body's recovering. On top of all that, her mom apparently died. Yeah, some people are going to self-medicate, to cope with a loss of a family member. Which that shouldn't even be, like, weed in general, it's ridiculous. It is, just prehistoric, this delusion that weed is dangerous. And it's disgusting, and it's ruined. There's other examples of black women this year being discriminated against for stupid shit. Like, there's this, which hopefully she gets tons of marijuana endorsements now that is a thriving business in states where it's legal. I could see Tyson Ranch, Mike Tyson's weed company, endorsing her. That would make so much sense. But I'm sure there's a lot of athletic weed companies, like a lot of athlete-owned weed companies that should be sponsoring her. On some level should be part of her brand. Lean into it. But the other thing that the Olympics are being racist about is these swimming caps. It's like, oh, you can't have that much hair. It's if you can't fit your hair into a normal swimming cap. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? It's a swimming cap. It's like these like quote unquote rules that are clearly set up to discriminate against a specific population of people. And it's just, and that's what they were like. Weed, that's like the history of weed. That's why weed is illegal, so that people can get who are caught with it can be put in jail. That's why Texas is not a free place by any stretch of the imagination. Just because you can own guns and somebody with the ability to curl their finger can kill you at any moment, that's not freedom. And neither is having insane things be illegal, like weed, just to fill prisons to make money off of them. So it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Let's move on. Last but not least, the most ridiculous, not the most ridiculous, but one of the most corrupt police departments in the world, the Los Angeles Police Department, the LAPD, confiscated a ton of explosives and illegal fireworks from somebody's house, and they put it in one of their bomb, transport units or whatever. And then they went to, I think it was behind the precinct or something. I don't know. It looks like it's in a neighborhood. There's a lot of residential houses. Anyway, they blocked off this area with caution tape, which you can see. They had loudspeakers telling people to, take cover. So the police premeditated, took these explosives in a explosive container. Now, these are people whose job it is to deal with explosives. So they understand what explosives and bombs can do. And they know how things can go wrong at times with explosives. So the fact that they did this, the fact that this truck has no driver in it, the fact that they taped off the street, the fact that they had loudspeakers telling people to take cover, they knew what they were doing. They were bombing a neighborhood, a residential neighborhood. They know what the shockwave of things would do. There's a ton of property damage. People were injured. This is the LAPD literally bombing citizens. And what's their story? Oh, we didn't know what was going to happen. What is your job? Is your job to dispose of explosives? Is that what you get paid to do? Because this wasn't an accident. It's not like they were driving down the street and things went wrong. Right? They knew that they were going to blow that thing up. They parked the vehicle there. They taped off the street. They put over loudspeakers as like this half-assed attempt to keep people safe. It's like, go to any giant parking lot that LA is covered in and blow it up there. Or take it to the mayor's house and blow it up in front of his house if you want to play this game of, we didn't know. If it's that safe, then go do it in front of the mayor's house to show how safe it is. They knew what was going to happen. They knew they had a shitload of explosives, and they had somebody in charge that thought they were going to be a cool guy. They're going to virtue signal to all of their other cool guy, police officer, terrorist buddies. Oh, we're going to go, you know what? These people are so annoying. These people are so annoying. They just keep bugging me, right? I know they're criminals, but I can't do anything. You know what I'm going to do? Let's go bomb their street. Fuck them. Let their insurance, companies, maybe they don't have insurance. Let's go fuck them. Let's go blow up their block. The LAPD is a terrorist organization as far as I'm concerned. More police are closer to terrorists than they are to anything that would resemble a officer of peace, of order. They bombed a neighborhood. And they tried to act like, I don't know how bombs work. I'm in charge of disposing of explosives. I didn't know they blow up. They should all be in prison. They should all be in prison. It's disgusting. If that was like in front of a Target and a Target got blown up, that would be handled 1,000% differently than the fact that they blew up a bunch of residential homes in apparently a black neighborhood. I didn't do any clarification but that's a neighborhood. Those are houses. Imagine you lived in one of those houses, or your family members, your grandparents. Disgusting. Disgusting. They're criminals. They're getting paid a shitload of money, exponentially more money than everybody else. Every other industry, government-funded terrorism. Anyway, let's do some shout-outs, shall we? After that joyful episode, shout-out to ABC News, Bob Menery, Riot Style, Carrie Richardson _ Steph Chambers Photo, and KTLA 5 News. But most importantly, shout-out to you. Get yourself some new cell phone service that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. It's great service, coast to coast, but the low rates are what you're going for. And because you go through my link, inspireddisorder.com/ting, that's right, Ting is the cell phone service, you're going to get $25 in credit. You can use that credit toward your service. You can use that credit towards a phone. If you already have a phone and you want to keep your phone, but you just don't want to pay so much for your cell phone service, head on over to Ting. Make sure you go through my link, inspireddisorder.com/Ting. That way you get $25 in credit to use towards anything over at Ting. inspireddisorder.com/Ting. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!